Okay. Hi. Hello. Greetings. I just realized that this didn't start right away. I switched to OBS because I was really irritated with Streamlabs OBS. So it was using too much of my CPU, and if I want to like stream for a long period of time, I don't want to kill my computer. So yeah, that's why this is different than before. And I am just trying to get used to this new setup, and hopefully it works. I think it's really funny that I accidentally already messed up. It like told me to go live in one place and it said I couldn't, and then I click live here, so whatever, it's fine. Um we're all good. Hi, welcome. I saw Ricky was here. I hope everybody's having a good day. I decided that I would really like to be reading some more Erowid, and I'll do it live instead of record it because I hate editing videos. But yeah, okay. So today we're specifically going to be looking at the Erowid Vault for cacti. Um, I forgot that cactus was like psychoactive, so this will be hopefully kind of fun and a little bit different. But yeah, let me pull this up here. Okay. Plants and drugs. Oh yeah, this website is great. Again, if you guys aren't familiar, it's like a place where people can upload their experiences, trying some fun stuff out, and I am a big fat baby wuss and really scared to like try anything. So Erowid's great because I can just read it and pretend, or not pretend, but like live vicariously through that person's experience. So yeah. I hope my video is okay. I'm trying to like monitor it. You sound good? Okay, cool. Let me know if the video's okay too. All right, let's go to plants and stuff. Here's cacti. Okay, so Erowid has like descriptive information, and then you can go to the history and then reading like experiences. So I'm first gonna go through this part, and then we'll look at the history because I'm very curious. I don't really know much about cacti like at all, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so let's dive in. We have the botanical classification. The family is Cactaceae. I have no idea. I'm not even gonna try. Cactaceae, something like that. And this is commonly known as Pachona, San Pedro, Huachuma. You also have Peruvian torch and Cardone grande. It is psychedelic classification and the description. Most psychoactive cacti contain mescaline as their primary active ingredient. The best of these is San Pedro, Peruvian torch, and peyote. I don't know anything about this kind of stuff. Here, let's see. Visionary cactus guide. Let's see if there's like some information. Oh yeah, this is okay, cool. Let me turn on dark mode. It's good for your skin. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh wait, yeah, I did. Like, cause is aloe vera a cactus? I think so, right? Yeah, you can't get high. Yes, that is something I believe can happen. That's funny. Why can't my dark thing go on? That's weird. Okay, well, whatever, it's fine. All right. So, last full update was February 97. Jesus, that is so old. Another reason why I love this website is because it does have like really, sorry, my stomach's growling. It has really old entries, and I kind of love that. Like, it's very much so a time capsule of the era before, like, how, I was like anything before Obama's presidency, I feel like was a specific time period of like the internet and what people were able to do and say and like find on the internet. Now it's like become even more like commercialized and like really, what's the term? Like regulated. And I kind of love that Erowid has been around for forever, and so you just see like all of this early internet, old internet stuff. It's pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, so there are literally hundreds of types of cactus that contain detectable quantities of medicinal and or psychoactive compounds, many of which have yet to be analyzed or tested. The cacti have a long history of traditional native uses, including being utilized as healers and teachers. The botany of our spiny allies is quite interesting, and the glossary of terms is available. Since the cactus are listed by genus, a cross-reference to common names is provided. Oh, interesting. Many of these cacti contain only traces of mescaline or other useful alkaloids, I think that's how you pronounce that, making these amounts much too small to be of practical value. So then how? Well, if it's too small, then do you just take like a shit ton of it? Like, do you just eat a whole plant? That'd be crazy. Yo, okay, I was just back home in my home state, and I didn't know this, but cactus grows there naturally. So like on my friend's like farm, there was just patches of cactus all over. It was really cool. And it's like Kansas. I did not think that Kansas would have cactus, but that was dope. It was prickly pear, I think it's called, something like that. Okay, since only small amounts of any particular alkaloid are usually available, the cacti must be processed by some method of extraction to concentrate the chemical constituents to useful levels. Alkaloid contents can also be increased within the plant itself by a variety of methods. Mescaline and other compounds can also be potentated, so have their effects increased, by combining with other substances. Interesting. So you can like cut mescaline with other stuff to make it more intense. I've never, I feel like I know that, wait, mezcal, as in like the drink? Oh, see, I'm learning all sorts of things. I didn't know shit about cactus other than, yeah, just, I guess, aloe vera, which I didn't even know was a cactus. Never mind. There are many different methods of ingesting the sacred cacti for spiritual and medicinal purposes. The mental and physical effects of ingesting these teacher plants is quite variable and depends largely upon the dosage. Although set and setting is also important. Yeah, could you imagine? Like, a bad trip. Like, I feel I've had good trips and I've had trips that are mid, but like, I feel like having a bad trip is really dependent upon place and setting. Like, I've had friends who've had horrible experiences or like fully just things that have kind of altered their personality, and it was like in a really bad setting in a bad situation. I just feel like if you're going to be doing any of this kind of stuff, like, be somewhere calming and like positive and lovely. That would be my advice. But then again, I'm never going to do this, so yeah. How the cactus are processed or prepared prior to consumption is also very important and warrants careful consideration. There are very few serious side effects or dangers involved when one chooses this path for exploration, but better to know of any possible problems before setting out. True. Of course, of major importance, always consider the legalities of your actions. Yeah. I love how they have a link so you can find out. What does this say? Oh, it's just to the cactus guide. Many of these cactus are also endangered in the wild, and it is an act of selfish stupidity to harvest a rare one. Oh, wow. Also, it is illegal to do so, and so, yeah, don't do that at all. It's much better for everyone involved if you buy one from a local nursery or mail order merchant. Give it to a good home and watch it grow. That's sweet. Or you can just grow your own. That'd be cool. Yeah, harvesting in the wild, I didn't know they were endangered, but I suppose that makes sense. A lot of things are endangered. And probably like land development, stuff like that. You'd be lost in a junkyard. Ricky. That's funny. Okay, so there are all of these sections. Descriptions, habitat, cultivation, glossary of terms. Yeah, no, I don't want to do any of that. Oh yeah, let's look at the timeline. I love the timeline. Very curious about this. You should do it. That'd be so cool. Also, like, cactus just looks fascinating. You know what I mean? Like, it's an interesting plant. Even if you're not gonna take it, like, it'd be cool to just be like, yeah, this is my, what was the term? San Pedro or whatever. That'd be crazy. Oh yeah, here, San Pedro. Let me read this now. So 2000 BCE, San Pedro cactus are believed to have been used sacramentally around the time, as evidenced by finds of cactus remains rolled into cigar form. They were discovered by the Peruvian archaeologist Rosa Fung at the Chavin probably, site of Las Andas. Let's see what the link is. Oh, nothing. That's unfortunate. What is this? Chavin site of Las Andas? I'm gonna look this up. A large archaeological complex. Where is it in the map? I don't know anything about. Why is this not zooming out? Whatever. Okay. Okay. I feel like I'm getting more and more confused. Okay. There we go. So it's along here, not very close to Lima at all. Interesting. I kind of want to see. Let's look this up. Go to Wikipedia. Ruins date to 1800 BCE to 1000 BCE. Interesting. Okay, that wasn't as interesting as I thought it would be. Oh well. Chavin stone carving from a temple at Chavin de Huantar in northern Peru shows the principal deity holding a cactus. Oh, that's cool. Do they have? I want to see that. Deity holding a cactus. Let's look this up. Damn, I thought. Oh, here we go. Oh, check that out. Whoa. That's so cool. See, yeah, sure enough, there's the cactus. I think this must be like a. Oh, yeah. That's dope. I wonder what the deity is. Oh, it just says shaman. Maybe it's different than somewhere else. Wow, look at that. That's beautiful. That looks so cool. Freaking love cactus. They're amazing. Okay. San Pedro has been cultivated on the Peruvian coast since this early intermediate period. And then there is no data. I wonder why. Hey, Nuggies. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, look at that gap in time from 200 to 600 CE to 1945. That's actually like super depressing. Jesus. Okay, so ritual use of San Pedro cactus in Ecuador is first documented, leading to the discovery of its mescaline content. This is the second plant after peyote found to contain mescaline. In 1950, San Pedro specimens were analyzed and discovered to contain 1 to 2% mescaline at a dry weight. Okay, that's kind of. While that is interesting, I was hoping there would be more history there. Because I don't know if y'all saw my other video on absinthe, but the history of absinthe was so fun and very long and goofy. But I guess that's the nature of colonialism, right? We don't have all that information about cacti. Okay, so let's look for some experiences, because there was one that I read that I really, really liked, and I kind of want to read again. Okay, so we have, sorry, let me stop scrolling really fast. So we have here general experiences, first times, combinations, which sounds, oh. Why would you do, can you see what I highlighted? Why would you do those together? That's crazy. There was one that was super cool. Yes, this is it. Okay. The domain of this plant is space. It's a long one, but it's super cool. Yeah, it is sad. It was in that thing that we were reading before, it said that they're actually endangered too, which is wild. I hadn't really thought about um like cactus could be endangered. I guess it's beyond just, the cute ones you see at Home Depot. Have you guys ever seen images of painted cactus? Like stores will sell cactus that are completely painted over in different colors. What who thought that was a good idea? That makes me so mad every time I see it. There's space succulents. Could you imagine? No, I read some of this before. They're just like saying that there's like this ethereal plane that it exists on. We'll read it and you'll understand. I don't know how to describe it very well. It's this one's fun though. So this person was in Scandinavia, hiking, and they decided to take the cacti while they were on vacation, like in the middle of the woods. It's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah, exactly, Nugs. Like, I'm sorry. So how is it gonna survive? Right? Like, literally, do you not know how plants like generate energy? That's so stupid. Okay, anyways, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Oh, hey, hello. Are you home? You're home so early. Welcome back. I'm streaming right now.
Live?
Yeah, I'm live. What's up? You want to say hi? There's a camera. You don't have to.
I don't want to be on camera.
You don't want to be on camera? Okay.
I'm the ghost.
Perm is here, everybody. Perm has arrived. Okay. So, we have got dose 24 inches. I'm going to assume probably the length of the cactus. Oh yeah, I'm looking at like psychoactive cacti experiences on Erowid. It's pretty cool. Okay. It says that it was fresh. Interesting. Body weight 80 kilograms. I don't know how much that is. Do you know how much? Maybe they meant body weight as in. I feel like that's not a lot, right? Yeah, we're talking about plants. Ricky and Nug said hi. Let me look this up. Okay, 2 pounds. 2 pounds. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is. Okay. So about 176 pounds, this person. I'm a male in my mid-20s. Last year, I went on an extended solo trek through Scandinavia, during which I ingested a San Pedro cactus. It was my first encounter with a major psychedelic. This report describes the experience. Lines with time codes are notes I took during the trip. Oh, I forgot that he did this. Yes. Which is, I love that kind of stuff. Like when I go, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like when I go somewhere and I feel very uncomfortable or like, I don't know, sometimes I'll like take notes so I can cope better or like feel like I'm an anthropologist and it makes me feel better. But yeah, I forgot that he does that. He has like these little timestamps. Okay. I had been planning the trek for months. The plan was to disappear and restart, to spend some time on what they call ground state collaboration. It would be almost 2 weeks before I found the right set and setting for the cactus. On the eve of my departure, I wrapped the cactus in a cloth and gently rolled it into my mat. The cactus was about 2 feet high. I had bought it online from a botanical vendor. I like that. Hi, Duchess! It had 4 ribs and a few tiny spines and measured approximately 3.5 inches in diameter at the base. The color was a dark green, but as it grew, the fresh top part turned very light. Supposedly, it came straight from the Andes, but who knows? I figured that would make it especially strong and healthy. I subsequently read that in order to increase the mescaline content, people instead deprive the cacti of water and sometimes even light. So this actually may not have been ideal. Interesting. Maybe painting your psychoactive cacti ahead of time actually could help. In any case, I had been nurturing it for close to a year, which is very gratifying in and of itself. Oh, that's so sweet. Wait, I missed that the first time I read it. So he actually bought it and raised it. That's so cool. It grows fast, several inches a year, even with sparse light. The fresh top shoots upward, turning into a darker green as time passes. It's a beautiful thing to watch, I bet. After a few days spent in trains and buses, I was on the trail in a region of thousands of lakes. Sorry, I need to zoom in. I'm so old. And streams. If you choose the right path and area, you can go back for days without encountering another person, which is what I did. I lived out of my backpack, camping at lakes or streams, and generally trying to clear my head. Soon I got in sync with the sun, rising with it, and going to sleep shortly after sunset. That's so tranquil. I love that. I don't know where in Scandinavia he says, but I very briefly lived in Scandinavia, and it was divine, especially like out in nature. I feel like, or at least the places I went to didn't have a lot of light pollution, so you could see like the sky really well. It was dope. It was very, very cool. Oh no, what happened to my... Can you still read this? I don't know, something just happened to my setup. Whatever. Duchess, highly recommend going down the Datura Stramonium rabbit hole. Okay, yes, I will. Let me write that down. Somewhere. My desk is so full of crap. Holy crap. Write this down really quick. How do you spell that? Datura Stramonium. Cool. Saved. That will be the next one. Thank you, Duchess. Okay. Where were we? I think here it is. Okay. 2 weeks passed, mostly because I did not feel in the mood for any major experiments, and the surroundings kept me occupied. As you would walk through the woods, there is an intense smell of pine and resin. You catch glimpses of lakes through the trees. I kept a nice, steady walking rhythm, sometimes falling into a kind of trance. Eventually, I came to a large, inviting lake. It was perfect, surrounded by forests and framed by flat stretches of warm, dry rock, which gently lowered into the water at the shore. I found a solitary camping spot on a flat peninsula that reached into the lake and set up my tent for the night. I decided that this was it. The next day was beautiful. It was warm. The far end of the peninsula attracted birds. There was almost no wind, and apart from a bird call here or there, the only sound you could hear was the water softly rolling onto the shore. Because I had read countless stories of horrible nausea, I decided to skip breakfast. That doesn't, whatever. Anyway, I don't know. That doesn't sound like a good idea, but it is what it is. Instead, I went for a swim, which sounds lovely. I had brought a small booklet with the Six Nations Thanksgiving address. Hello? What? Oh my god. That is a funny thing to read as you're starting a trip. Excuse me? Which is a collection of thank yous to the natural world. While I do not consider myself to be religious or spiritual, back then I saw it as a tool to bring about something like proper attention. Wait, I thought Thanksgiving is like the holiday. Is the Six Nations Thanksgiving address something else? It just seemed like it would be. Hold on. Oh, okay, never mind. For the Iroquois Nation. My bad. I thought it was something else. Okay. Well, I did not consider myself to be religious or spiritual. Back then, I saw it as a tool to bring about something like proper attention, a due diligence, if not reverence, towards one's surroundings. The longer I spent in nature, the more this idea of attention became important to me. So I used it. After this little morning ritual, I retrieved the cactus from my tent. It had survived the journey surprisingly well, probably because I had wrapped it with the roots intact and a good chunk of soil around the base. Only the thin top end was slightly shriveled. The rest looked green and healthy. The usual method of boiling and straining cactus down to 1-2 cups would have taken ages, and I figured that keeping a constant temperature would be difficult over a campfire. True. Yeah, okay, Nugs. Oh, good. He wasn't reading about pilgrims in bucket hats. Buckle hats during his trip. That's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, bro, what are you doing? Why? Such a random thing to be doing. But okay, yeah. It all makes sense now. It's like a thank you to nature. Um, not to buckle hats. That's funny. The rest looked green and healthy. The usual method of boiling and straining the cactus down to 1-2 cups would have taken ages, and I figured that keeping a constant temperature would be difficult over a campfire. Instead, I decided to eat the cactus raw. How bad could it be? Sound probably terrible. I love how he was like, I'm not going to eat anything beforehand. However, I am going to just do it raw. Like, what? Like, hello? Okay. That's pretty funny. I washed it in the lake to remove any potential pesticides. Despining wasn't really necessary as the spines were tiny and I could just scrape them off with the dull end of my knife. I decided against skinning because I had read conflicting accounts of where the greatest concentration of the relevant alkaloids usually is. I cut off about a foot from the top and began to eat. So we have here notes. These are from like the moment when he was actually taking it. So T plus 0, begin ingestion. T plus 15 seconds, not as bitter as people say. Is this really a Pokanoi? I don't know how to pronounce that. The first bite was surprisingly fresh and pleasant. I decided that the most manageable approach would be to cut it into star-shaped pieces and eat one after the other. I sliced the cutting into inch-thick chunks. Soon after, it started to turn difficult. The texture became very squishy, unpleasantly so. Each chunk became a small challenge. It was disgusting, but not the downright soul-crushing experience of nausea and bitterness some people report. T plus 30 seconds, still not as bitter, but had to retch a couple of times. 2/3 of the cactus to go. The thicker the stem gets, the more disgusting. Some Native American tribes supposedly recommend plunging right into the center of bitterness, but it's the texture that makes it so unpleasant. Yeah, exactly, a little meal. I'm not well versed with it. Is it a bad idea to eat before a trip? Personally, Nugs, I've always eaten, and I usually eat bread. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, or like wheat. I'm thinking, like, I think I've always had right? Bagels. I'm pretty sure I've only ever had bagels. Like I'll ingest it with bagels. Which is very which I can't legally recommend, but I kind of recommend. But yeah, do you guys anybody else have like ideas or experiences? You like eating fruit first? Yeah, and I think eating a small meal before ingesting something like that is probably, yeah, just like a good rule of thumb. Like I feel like it might it'll like probably help with any sort of like side effects, especially with nausea or something. Like I would rather eat and be sick than not eat and be like super super sick or like have a really difficult come up. That's just me personally. Oh, rice is good too. Yes. See, that sounds lovely. Could you imagine having a little sushi at first? That'd be so good. I also just really want sushi right now. It's a texture that makes it the most unpleasant, I bet. T plus minute 30. The nausea creeps up slowly but surely, almost in a friendly way. That's so cute. I love that description. The best way to handle it is to suck out and swallow the liquid immediately while chewing. So I'm left with almost pleasant, fresh vegetable matter in my mouth rather than icky goo. Interesting. 2 minutes. Finish ingestion. Damn, he ate 2 feet of cactus in 2 minutes? That seems like a lot. That seems like a lot. Duchess, the main worry is with orals and nausea. I wouldn't imagine it would have much effect on something absorbed sublingually like acid, but it definitely could with an oral. Not psychedelic, but for example, you would never want to eat before taking dextro, I don't know, something, because the nausea is bad enough without food in your stomach. Interesting. Thank you for letting me know, Duchess. Nugs, friendly nausea. I love that description. It is cute. Best practice is to eat a small meal about 2 hours before, so you're not hungry but also not full of food. Oh, good point. I had to take antibiotics recently because I randomly got like a staph infection in my nose. So fucking crazy. It's ridiculous. But basically, it was making my stomach really fucked up. So, they told me I couldn't like have dairy like 2 hours before and 2 hours after, which I thought was interesting. But I have been taking these probiotics instead, but they're like little gummy bears and they taste like candy. And so one time I kind of wasn't paying attention. I ate like 3 of them. It was so good. But also, I don't know if taking 3 probiotics is a good idea. Okay, so yeah, 2 minutes for 2 feet of cactus seems wild to me personally. Let me fix this. Why is this being like this? Do you guys see how hard the text is to read? I don't know what's going on. Am I zoomed in? Oh, that's why. Never mind. This is a trial run. This is a trial run stream. Okay. In the notes I wrote, friendly, and I think that captures it well. It was non-obtrusive, but noticeable. After a while, it began to feel like a gentle tug of war between myself and the nausea. That said, the last few pieces were pretty hard to handle. After almost vomiting into a bush, I settled back down, leaned against a pine tree, and began to wait, just absent-mindedly staring at the waves. That sounds lovely. For an hour, nothing happened. After a while, I began to doubt anything would. I went back to my campsite, started a fire, and made a cup of oatmeal and a pot of tea. That sounds lovely too. What a great little trip this dude went on. I felt nice and calm. Still a bit woozy in the stomach, but okay. I sat down and started drinking the tea and had some sweetened condensed milk from a can. It helped with the stomach and was a great breakfast. After the ordeal of eating the cactus, I felt I deserved it. That's for sure. I put the pot down on a warm stone near the fireplace. I sat in the sun and felt completely at ease. If the cactus wouldn't hit, so be it. Interesting that he ate. So he did end up eating. That is something to note for like future effects. All right, so T plus 4? Oh, wait, this is the time. Like what time it... Never mind, I'm an idiot. Okay. I have misunderstood. So it's like 1:30 during the day, and this is probably 2 o'clock, and then this is probably 4 o'clock, not 4 minutes. Oh my god. Yeah, so it took him a half hour to eat it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe that's not what that means, because I'm confused. Like a half hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 4 hours? I'm not very good at this. Apologies. I'm not really sure what that means, but... So T plus 4, maybe 4 hours. I do feel a bit droopy-eyed now, like high. T plus 4:30, went to fetch some firewood. Feel quite stoned now, but the high is very manageable. Directable. Here I drew a big smiley face on my notepad just to make it stick. Oh, it's cute. The interesting thing about the high is that I can always go into an objective observer mode. I hadn't felt it coming on, but something was definitely beginning to happen. At the same time, I almost immediately became acutely aware of everything happening to me. The observer mode of consciousness came very naturally, and what I observed most of all was the sun. Its light covered everything in a silky texture, and the whole peninsula felt wide and golden and brown. At the same time, everything had very well-defined sharpness to it. No romantic softening of the edges at all. As I walked from the shore to my fireplace, I noticed that my tactile senses had become exquisitely sensitive. The simple act of walking barefoot felt great. I almost felt a compulsion to press my feet onto the small sticks and patches of rock in the ground. Oh no. Something is wrong with my stream. Sorry guys. I hope you can still hear me. Says y'all should experience buffering. I apologize. My internet is so trash. Ugh. I wonder if Perm is playing a video game in the other room. Sometimes that happens. Okay. Where were we? My nausea had subsided. I was midday now, and the fire seemed redundant by that point. For now, I put it out. I decided to explore my surroundings. I did not feel like venturing back into the forest. I wanted to stay in the warm light. I wanted to keep walking on warm ground and pine needles. Okay, cool. Okay, good. Thanks, guys. Just opposite the peninsula where I had pitched my tent, across the lagoon, there was a small island separated by a 30-foot stretch of water. The water separating it from my spot was so clear you could see the bottom of the lake. It looked inviting. Wow, that's so cool. Perm and I just went on vacation in Kansas, like I was saying, and we walked in like a protected prairie. Walked through a protected prairie. There's like a biological site and they have a trail there, but we passed like this little, like, it wasn't I guess creek might be the right word, because it wasn't like super huge, but it wasn't just like a little stream, and it was crystal clear. Like, I'd never seen water that clear before, especially like, I don't know, like in that environment. Like every time you ever go somewhere, even out in the country, you know, there's always like kind of dirt or it's like muddy or something like that. No, this was crystal clear. It was so cool. It was beautiful. That was such a beautiful walk. And then we went to Kansas City, and there's a canal there, and so I was like, let's walk along the canal. And the water was like pitch black. There was no movement. It was so gross. It was so nasty. And they had like gondolas and stuff set up, but no one was walking. Nobody was like on the gondolas. That was absolutely foul. Like, when I say black, I mean black. It was crazy. Anyway, I slowly lowered myself into the water. My bare foot touched the rocky ground, and was almost interesting feeling in the world. Wait, what? Hold on, I misread that. It felt intense but distinct, like an intensification at a certain point of a beautifully composed field. All the other parts of my body and consciousness of them were fully present. There was a clarity to everything, yet it felt unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. I started to wade towards the island. Soon the water rose to my chest, and I slowed down. For a second, I held my breath and just stood there, submerged in the cool liquid, sun shining from above, solid rock beneath my feet. The parts of my body felt separate and connected at the same time, like a net. I like that description. Sludge water, straight up, bro. It was sludge water. It was so gross. As I reached the other shore and climbed up, I felt the entire surface of my skin. It was sensitive to every drop of water on me. But by this point, what I was experiencing in my vision was beginning to flare up, in particular the colors. I don't know about you guys, but like sometimes I'll be like sleeping or listening or like doing something, and like that activity, or like cooking or whatever, and that activity, to me, I'll kind of go into like a sort of a trance, right? This is very much so like a flow state thing that I'm doing, and I'll just see colors, or like I'll be doing like what, like I'm trying to think of. Oh, okay, so I've been having a lot of fun practicing Hanzi, which is like Chinese characters, and sometimes while I'm like deep in it and kind of just like going through that, basically like sometimes it's like, oh, that was a very green day, or that was a very like maroon day or whatever. Does that happen to you guys too? Like you'll be experiencing a moment and it just has like a very intense color associated with it. I love that so much. When I trip, it's like Everything becomes like an oil sheen. It's amazing. I absolutely love tripping. Um, let's see. As I reached the other shore and climbed up, I felt the entire surface of my skin. I was sensitive to every drop of water on me. By this point, I was experiencing in my vision What I was experiencing in my vision was beginning to flare up in particular colors. The island was small, about 90 feet in diameter, sewed with this is a typo, sparse pine trees. The ground consisted of warm rocks alternating with patches of soil and dry moss. It was a beautiful pattern of brown, deep yellow, and ochre. This is where I felt it flare up more intensely. I was feeling very high and rolled up into the feeling of watching. It became very vivid, meaningfully so. I could not tell if I was moving slowly or quickly. I felt time suspended or out of joint, but only for moments, which sounds paradoxical. Even then, I couldn't put my finger on it. I kept following the folds in the ground. I felt almost ecstatic walking through a small patch of reeds. I jumped over small water lagoons, past some birds, and remember thinking that they must feel the same, just in this mute world of being and feeling. I felt like a sail for the rays of the sun. After a while, I sat down on a fallen tree. I could feel the detailed patterns of the bark between my fingers, and it was as if my fingers were just sensors, feeling it independently. I felt every inch on my hair, on my skin. The grass in the shade was brilliantly green. The sunlight alternated between velvety warm, inviting, and distant kind of gold. Waves splashed against the shore. I watched the surface of the water rolling towards and along the rim. The rips in the waves were bathed in this strange light gliding over its surface. I could not keep my eyes off of it. It looked to me like liquid metal. Wow, that sounds amazing. Okay, yeah, this guy's definitely feeling it. Also, this just sounds beautiful in general. Like, what a way to experience cactus for the first time. I mean, it's a very, I'm assuming he's like pretty much miles away from anybody else and really just in the water. That's so cool. I will say, like, anytime it's like, because it's getting warmer out, anytime it's hot, I'm just like, I wish I was in water. I wish I was in a lake or a pool or even a kiddie pool. I swear to God, I'm gonna buy a kiddie pool. I want one so bad, just so I can be outside and like sitting in water. The thing that struck me was that it did not feel like inebriation, apart from the dopey physical feeling in the eyes, which by that point I did not even notice anymore. Experiencing the world this way felt like a deeper understanding, not a revelatory sense, but not with any deep flashes of insight, more like a quiet, of course. It felt profoundly open, spacious, without being ethereal, the kind of freedom inert to the world itself, if that makes sense. Then I felt a gust of warm wind pressed against my chest. A light drizzle was coming up. I started walking back to my fireplace and tent. On my way back in the light rain, I started to run and felt a great body euphoria come over me. Swimming back was even better than before. Oh, that sounds amazing. I want to do that. Okay. T plus 5 hours, 30 minutes. Back from island. Sensuous. I can only compare to THC, but similar. It has a broader feel, as in the field of attention is not as focused, but it can be if I want. Still a bit hesitant to throw myself into a feeling. It seems to be a conscious decision. I hid my notebook and pen. As I was just in shorts, I simply stood in the middle of the beginning rain and felt joyful. Then I rekindled the fire. After a short while, the rain passed. Interesting. So 6 hours. Small fire, sitting in the sun, feeling the world. Light tenseness in the jaw. It has a slight upness to it, a kind of energy. Libido? Question mark. Right? This does sound dope. This sounds so lovely. There was never any serious teeth grinding, just a feeling that my mouth was closing harder than normal. After sitting for a while, I noticed an energy linger in my body. At first I thought it was libidinous. I'm assuming that's like related to libido. But then I decided that it was life itself. I felt no need to act out in any way. It came and went. I just kept going, from time to time as I felt it rush down my spine. Mildly orgasmic, I guess. One redwood tree in particular grabbed my attention. I couldn't stop looking at its bark. Its curves had taken on an extreme expressiveness. Although I can't exactly say how, it felt like a face without a face. There is a line that goes, a thingless word, a wordless thing. And then a wave of something came over me. The only way I can describe it is that I felt the power of the psychedelic. A gentle but authoritative reminder that I was not playing around. I thought of the warning in the Psychedelic Experience FAQ about psychedelics not being toys. What I was into was not trivial. It had immensity underneath it, and the bottom of my headspace was about to drop out. Yet it didn't freak me out. There was a baseline of reassurance at the core of the experience. Instead of the all too familiar feeling of standing at the edge of a cliff of paranoia, I felt I could trust that I was all right. I was home. I stood up and touched the tree. It felt massive and deep. My anxiety turned into awe, and that seemed to be the proper response. Everything subsided. Yeah, my God, I was living. Seriously. During the next hour or so, I kept entering and exiting a high state. At times, I felt I sat in a vast valley of intensely colored, interlocking panels, which was what the plants, the lakes, and the brown trees, and the soil, and the fire looked to me. At other times, I felt completely sober. Just sitting around when I was observing my mental state, I felt like I was able to collect myself at any time. Not knowing whether to keep observing or to let go and immerse myself, I continued trying to balance my consciousness on this edge, caught between vivid world and calm mind. After a while, I wasn't sure anymore if I was on top of it or if it was on top of me. It became hard to discern from the ground state or baseline of the mind. Every time I looked at the trees, I kept noticing that their branches were twisting statically. It is hard to describe. That sounds, what? Twisting statically? I don't even understand what that means. It's hard to describe. They were twisting without moving, not as motion, but as pure expression. Process and stasis were the same. It didn't shock me like the redwood bark. Instead, I was absolutely fascinated. As I watched them, I thought that this was what nature was all about, itself. And there I was, in the middle of it. I didn't feel alienated. Neither did I feel welcome. I already was a part. Being that was effortless and pleasant. But it impeded something massive as well. How could I describe it? Early evening set in. I walked into the woods to fetch more firewood and made a good pile for later. Laying the wood on top of each other was very satisfying. That's such baked shit. To be like really lost in like that kind of like stacking stuff on top of each other. You know what I mean? There's something like I feel like when you're in an altered state of being, like menial tasks become so magical. If you know what I mean? Like a Van Gogh painting. Exactly. Yes. Laying the wood on top of each other was very satisfying. The dryness and solidity of the larger pieces felt just right. Then I sat down on the rock at the shore. The rock had saved the warmth of the day. I put my palms on it and felt it immensely stretched down and away. The waves had calmed into gentle licks. The sun was beginning to set, and the light it radiated was turning into a surreal pastel. Beautiful, wow. I watched the island across the lagoon and realized that its trees were really standing on unfertile ground. Their roots lay on flat granite, stretching outward under a thin layer of dry soil, sometimes exposed, for hundreds of feet. This is how they lived, and yet they were healthy and green and nurtured by the sun. I remember thinking that I wouldn't want to live in a stunningly beautiful place such as this. Why? Somehow it felt that living through day after day, surrounded by such natural, expressive beauty, would make one dumb. Okay, in both senses of the word. Any impulse to extract oneself from it and think abstractly, to operate with words and concepts would steadily diminish until one would become part of this self-expressing colossal constellation of beings, chopping wood, carrying water. I'd once read a line that recommended becoming a geological formation from time to time. This metaphor, if it is one, slowly became very real to me. I felt the world composed of strata upon strata, trees, animals, soil, water. It became very easy to empathize with all of them, and I shifted in and out of them. The birds had left now, and the peninsula was empty. I felt the blue bowl of the lake just resting. It was mute. And below that was the rock that would always be there, long after people, long after every living creature would have gone. For a second, I had a spike of fear of not being able to become myself again, of becoming mute like the lake, eternal like the rock. I kept breathing. Breathing was like an anchor to human life, a thread connecting me back. And yet I felt embedded in the vast everything. It is hard to put into words. Everything became its own expression. It just was, including myself. All I could do was breathe and partake. There is a beautiful line in the Old Testament when Moses asks God, "Who should I say sent me?" And God answers, "Tell them, I am sent you." That's how it felt. Interesting. The last minutes of the day spent back at the campfire, just hanging out with it, completely at peace. Soon everything was dark. The strands of the flames were extending upwards. Hold on. The steam from my cup rose, and an unstable white column against the black of the woods. After a while, I extinguished the campfire, collected the dishes, and crawled into my tent. Even though the experience still stays with me and had put me in a very difficult place, I would give it no more than a +2 on the Shulgin scale. I don't know what that is. Let me look this up. Maybe this is something I probably should know for later. Like, is that some sort of scale for experiences? Quantitative potency scale is a simple scale for reporting the subjective effects of a psychoactive at any given dosage at any given time. System was developed for research purposes by, American biochemist Alexander Shulgin, and published with co-authors Anne Shulgin and Peyton Jacob III. Wow. Interesting. That's good to know. I feel like that is actually going to be something I will need to know for the rest of this series, this Erowid series. I'm glad that he mentioned that. Noted. Let me write this down. I just hit myself in the face with my fish. Look at my fish. Can you see that? I got this when I was in Seattle last year, which was so much fun. Okay. Oh shit, where'd it go? Shulgin scale. Okay. Apart from the panel effect, I didn't experience Native American-like visuals or overtly geometric patterns. Oh, of course, someone said you would experience that. That's so fucking funny. Nor did I feel like an emotional catharsis was about to happen. I suppose it was a very low dose. The mescaline content of the San Pedro cactus is notoriously unpredictable. I have read estimates ranging from 25 milligrams to 120 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh cactus. I was obsessed with observing the effect, perhaps to a fault, especially considering how the experience told me precisely the inverse, that everything just was, and that abstraction and mind chatter were more like ripples on the surface. There's an interesting parallel here, and as a thought experiment, it could be framed in Jungian terms. After the experience, I came across Jung's 4 psychological functions: intuition, thought, feeling, and sensation, correlating to the archetypes fire, air, water, and earth, which he imagined as a pre-analytical description of human consciousness. As I sat by the fire, intuition, the immense something expressed in the bark folds. As I sat by the water, empathetic responses to the vastness of geology emotion. And the physical feeling and sensation came over me as I swam through the water and walked on the earth. It didn't have the romanticism of cannabis. With the latter, I feel things become wonderfully solid and centered in my attention. I tend to become mesmerized by a feeling, lose myself in it. Music, a color, a cone, a face, an idea. On the cactus, everything was light and spacious, free, without being ethereal. It was like entering a wider, mysterious, but very real world that had been there all along. It was fascinating, and I'm very grateful to have experienced it. This is an ally for introspection, too, but in a very different way from cannabis. The latter tends to lead me into analytical mazes, often inward on a single associative thread. My experience with the cactus was less analytically introspective. It grounded me, showed me my deeper layer, by embedding me outward, by creating both a connection to my surroundings and a deep empathy within. It could have been set and setting. There it is again that we saw in the. It said that in the description for the cactus. It could have been set and setting. Perhaps this was because I hadn't fed with my head. I hadn't fed with my head with anything. Huh? Oh, I'm misreading. Okay. I hadn't fed my head with anything intellectually stimulating before. After all, I had been walking for 2 weeks, often in a trance-like state. I felt more at peace with myself than usual. I was surrounded by beautiful nature. I was completely self-reliant and, having been in this environment before, familiar with the surroundings. Or maybe this is just the nature of the cactus. All in all, it was a more holistic experience, both in thought, emotion, and sense perception. The domain of this plant is space. I would want to trip on Pakanoi in any enclosed space at all. I can still enter some of the headspace. I'm planning to try this again in a higher dose sometime in the future. So this experience was from 2017. The person who uploaded this is male and was 25 at the time. Wow, that's incredible. Wasn't that a good entry? I liked how it was both very, it felt very analytical and kind of like a scientific recounting of what happened, but there also was some, like, it was told in a poetic way. I liked that a lot. This was really great. And I again, I'm such a pussy. I will never try this stuff, but it's fascinating, and it kind of is like, maybe. Yeah, this is so cool. The tags on here says glowing experiences. I bet. And this has only had 6,936 views. See, that's what I mean. This website is such like a hidden gem. Such a hidden gem. Okay, and they're selling a hoodie. All right, everybody. That is that experience for today. Whoops, wrong wrong screen. So I was thinking about playing Sims, but it's almost 5 and I'm supposed to be going to a our women's hockey team won. They're like national champions. So there's like a what's it called? Like a celebration happening at our hockey arena. So I'm going to go to that with my coworkers and Perm. But it's been real, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I probably will go live again really, really soon. Yeah, I hope everybody has a great day. Bye.